Hello, my name is Lily Archive, and we talk about fundies and sometimes other stuff. Now, today I was just thinking about the time that Jeremy actually revealed on the Counting On show that Jim Bob had a however many page, like 30 page, I think, questionnaire for all the guys who are interested in his daughters to fill out. And I was kind of thinking about how that questionnaire got leaked, or perhaps it was like a version of his, or maybe what he was inspired by got leaked onto Free Ginger, and I was thinking about how crazy it would be if I went through that and answered every question. It might be a really boring video, but I just thought it was such an interesting concept. Now, I'm going to be going through every question except for the ones I just don't want to answer because they're too personal. So, these questions are typically asked to like a 20 something, mid 20, early 20 guy who's wanting to date a Duggar girl, a fundie, and I am a 23-year-old lesbian with a girlfriend. So I'm going to be answering those questions. So we'll get some good responses.
All right, guys, so I got put on the spot there, but did Mr. Duggar ever grill you guys about your financial situation before marriage?
It's on the 45-page application. Page 27, section B,
Yep.
line 4.
Sure enough. You think he's joking?
Joking. Okay, did y'all not fill out like a whole little thingy for Daddy?
Well,
yeah, they did. Parts of it. Everybody did the 30-page questionnaire.
That's how
I'm sorry, wait a second. Jim Bob made you guys fill out questionnaires that
He
were...
is not kidding, yes. Yes, they did.
I got sent a 50-page questionnaire. I sent it back at 105 pages.
For me, we were already kind of in our relationship, so I'd already sort of passed inspection, so to speak. But he still this was something that he wanted to start doing in the future, and so he said, well, Ben, why don't you go ahead and fill this out? And, from now on, I'm going to have, all the guys kind of fill out sort of a questionnaire so that I can get to know more about him.
They were more the guinea pigs kind of thing, so it's like any questions you think
You got
about
it before y'all recording, though, right?
They were the guinea pigs. I got it at the front end.
Yeah, he got it at the front end.
But it
So
was
that's
good.
how Pops is doing it from here on out.
It actually was, things you may not think of off the top of your head. I think the major question where I spent most of my time is just tell me about how you became a Christian, how you came to the Lord. And so it was just basic get to know the person. It wasn't like rate yourself,
Right. I think that questionnaire is pretty thorough, and so as they would send back, well, I think Jeremy sent his in one chunk, but Derek and Ben sent theirs section by section, like when they'd fill out the finance section, they'd send that. And so we got to read that too, and it was a lot of things that we probably wouldn't have thought to ask those questions, but we got to read and find out what their answer was.
This was top secret, and I let the cat out of the bag.
You
So.
know what?
Yes, you did.
So, as mentioned in the video, there were several categories. The first one being life influences. Number 1, do you seek advice from others? Actually, constantly. I probably do it too much from my buddies, from my family, whatnot. That goes right into the second question. How often do you seek counsel? Probably daily. 3, who do you seek counsel from? I mean, he's covering all his bases. As I said earlier, I answered that with number 1. 4, what type of things do you ask counsel about? Relationship stuff, job stuff, more like self-awareness questions, like am I being too, insert this adjective, insert that adjective. Number 5 is, would you be humble enough to go to counseling if I felt like we needed to? Now, this question totally threw me off because I thought it was coming from like Jim Bob's perspective and being like, if I, Jim Bob, the potential father-in-law, felt like you needed to go to counseling, would you? But I think that he means in this case like the prospective daughter-in-law, or sorry, no, not daughter that the young man is looking to be in a relationship with. So if my current girlfriend wanted me to go to counseling, I definitely would. Although we're like within the first 5 months of our relationship, so that would be kind of weird, but still, I would go. Would you go to counseling even if you don't feel the need to go? But I do, for sure. I feel like there's not really any downside to it except for the money and then also the time spent trying to find the right counselor. 7, would you go the first time you're asked? Yes. He's really he does not leave any stones unturned in these questions. Number 8, are you humble about seeking counsel, or do you already have all the answers? I feel like some of these questions, it's very obvious like what Jim Bob wants the answer to be. I guess I would just say yes, I would be humble about seeking counsel. 9, are you willing for us to share our problems with a counselor or a potential partner? For sure. Would you include your wife as a counselor? I ask my girlfriend currently for advice and counsel all the time, so yes, that question for me would be yes. Okay, so now moving down the page. Number 11, would you ask my opinion or my advice before making decisions, especially big ones? What are the primary events or situations in your life that have defined? Oh my God, that's like two different questions. I feel like he he has questions that could just be one question into like three questions, but this one is like totally different. So I'm going to separate these. Would you ask my opinion or my advice before making decisions, especially big ones? I feel like with my future wife, I would definitely include her in decision making, even like tiny ones. I feel like I always want to be on the same page. Let's consider this like 11 part B. What are the primary events or situations in your life that have defined who you are today, the most formulating experience and periods of your life? That one's a little personal for you too. I'm not going to go into that. 12, what have been the hardest things you've ever had to work through, the hardest things you have ever done? I think that just mental health struggles probably would be my answer. I'm not going to go too deep into that. 13, who have been main disciplers in your life and people who have impacted and colored your life the most as a child, adult, whenever? I'd say my parents, my aunt. I'm particularly close to my aunt. Main disciplers. I would say my best friend. She's a little bit older than me. I'd say she's one of my main shapers of the last 6 years, especially. 14. Who were your role models and heroes? I'm assuming as a kid. For what reason? I guess it really was just my parents for their dedication. They kind of always took care of us. Like that was their really main priority. I think that would probably be, and then I think my aunt as well. That's kind of like the same as like the disciplers questions. 15. Who are you are the result of the influence of which people? I'd say like literally everyone you're around. Like I feel like you get a little bit from everybody. I feel like that one's kind of hard to answer. I wonder how long the answers, because I'm giving like really short answers to these, but I wonder how long these guys are like sending back. I know Ben was sending like a sentence, and then Jeremy was like talking for three paragraphs. Which women, men do you admire most and want to be like? Why? In what ways? So, I think for me, I said my aunt. I like her generosity and her dedication to helping her family, always doing something, always offering some sort of help to others, or just doing stuff that's not even asked of her. I think that's like one of the main ones. I'm not going to go into every person and say which ways I like to be like them, because I'm not actually, contrary to popular belief, trying to date a Duggar woman. That would be crazy. Which qualities and personality traits do you see in other women and men that you desire to have yourself? I think generosity, especially to your close people, um, dedication, hard work. Um, I love being snarky, but I think that being nice to your family members and really kind in every situation and not responding back with a quippy little answer, it is something that I wish I could do, especially when I'm living with other people. It's really hard for me. I think being calm, cool, and collected in stressful situations is something I really want to be better at. I feel like I'm pretty calm in general, but and don't take things too seriously, but that's something I like. I think that just really responding in kindness, to your close people, especially those who you live with, is one of the main ones. What personality traits and or strengths do you see in men and women you know that you would desire for your husband or wife to possess? I love how he's pretending like he actually gives this well, I guess that this is technically either a template he's used or kind of a similar questionnaire. It's not the exact questionnaire, but if his is like this where it says wife or husband, I love how he's pretending like he would give this questionnaire to a woman to answer. Like he I feel like he doesn't really, he trusts his sons to kind of pick a woman. But what personality traits and strengths do I see? I think that somebody who is like more sensitive than me, somebody who softens my heart, somebody who is really sweet. I love being sappy. I can't be with somebody who's not into being sappy. That's one of the things that I like about my current girlfriend. She's super sappy with me. And like we'll sit and talk about like all the things we like about each other for hours. Like it's so silly. Um, yeah, I think being calm in situations, but I don't mind having to calm somebody down a little bit and being somebody's peace. But definitely don't want them to be to like get too worked up by little stressors in life. I really value humor. I also value humility in the way that you don't take yourself too seriously, but that also you can see your faults and see that, everybody sees things differently. I think that being able to put herself in maybe somebody else's shoes in most situations, and think about possibly, if she's having a conflict, what the other person could be thinking or what the other person could be dealing with. I think self-awareness is a big one. Those are just a few of the traits that I'd probably look for. Do you read? That question is so funny. I really hope that that is an actual question on his version of the questionnaire, because it's just such a funny question to me. Do you read? Sometimes I really probably should read more. Right now I'm reading the whole book about Trump's journey through The Apprentice and how that show was produced and came to be by Ramin Satuda. 21. What do you like to read? I definitely don't like to read fiction. I'm not into that. I never have been. I really like nonfiction, either something cultural, almost like gossipy, or something where I can learn something that I'm interested about. Submitting that back to him, Jim Bob, I would say I like to read your daughter's book. I read Jill's book, I'm telling you, in like 4 hours. I was quick with it. I was making notes too. I was like writing in between the lines and shit. I really enjoyed that book actually. The first section of the questionnaire was 21 questions. Now we're into the category of your spiritual life. I would say I'm definitely not religious, and I feel like maybe if as I'm older I might get more spiritual, but so far at age 23 I have not been very spiritual at all. And so these questions I feel like are not going to apply to me, so this is probably going to be a very quick section. 22. What are things you see as God's blessings? Do you desire and cherish these things? Obviously that doesn't apply to me. Don't believe in God. Would you be willing to die for Christ? No. I'd be willing to die for like my mom, but not that. 24. What breaks your heart? What delights your innermost heart? Okay, what breaks my heart? I think I really have a heart for really young children and really old people. And then also, my close people. I really have a soft heart for them. What delights my heart? I really just feel rejuvenated and renewed when I'm like around a bunch of my buddies, especially if it's a bunch of them in one room with my family. Um, I am really delighted. My heart is really delighted by parrots. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but like that's like one of my special interests other than fundies is parrots. I used to have a parrot. 25. Are you a spiritual person? No. 26. What are you expecting of your spouse religiously? Nothing. I don't really care if she's religious. It doesn't really matter to me. 27. What ministries do you serve in? None. 28. What can you offer your spouse spiritually? I can listen about her spirituality and be kind to it, but it's not something that I personally have. Number 29. Who are your disciples? I would say in a religious sense, I guess I have none. 30. When did you really start to seek the Lord? Never. I think that even as I grew up religious, but I never really believed in it. I think it was more anything I did was always fear-based or to please my dad. 31. When did you start to obey the word because it was the word? I guess never then. 32. What do you believe about salvation? Nothing. 33. When did the fruit of the Spirit start appearing in your life? Not, never. 34. What is a besettling sin? What are yours? As you guys know, truly what offends me in the sin category is child abuse. I would say that is it. What are my sins? Oh God. I guess in a Christian base, gossiping, gaying, that kind of thing, cussing, what have you. What do you believe about sin? What do you believe about Romans 6 and 7? I actually don't know what that is referring to, so I'm going to go look it up and put it on the screen. Oh my God, I thought that was going to be kind of short. Much to my surprise, I look it up and it's like 4 pages long. If I'm going to put it up on the screen here while I'm talking, and if you want to pause and look at that, you're welcome to, but it's just something about sin. I really am not going to sit and read that. Number 36, what do you think about your family? Are you good friends? How is sibling blank doing? So right now I own a house about 2 hours away, but I've been staying with my parents because my girlfriend lives 10 minutes from me, and if I was to go live at my house, she would live like 2 hours. I just don't like being away from her that long. So I work remotely, so I've been staying with them. I really enjoy spending time with them, although they get on my nerves a little bit. We do fun things. We go to the gym together. We play pickleball. What have you. We eat meals together. It's nice. I would say that we are good friends. We have the ability to laugh together. I think we have similar senses of humor, although mine is a little bit more silly. I have one sister who is 20 months younger than me. She is a sorority queen, a senior in college. She lives an hour and 15 from where my parents live in another direction, so 2.5 hours from my actual house. She's doing pretty good. She's been dating her boyfriend for over a year. I'm just giving y'all all this information just to get to know me a little. But we really get along. We're like complete opposites. She's very girly, but we have a very similar sense of humor. We talk quite frequently. I'd say she's doing pretty good. We'll spend a lot more time together in the summer because we will go to the lake together a lot. Number 37, what does theology mean? Just a list of doctrines. I really don't give a shit. 38, how do you get doctrine? How do you determine right doctrine? I just don't give a shit. 39, what's your attitude towards historically held positions? Does that mean like in the church or in government? I'm assuming in the church because this is the religious. I really don't care, is my answer. Okay, we're already on number 40. How big is your vision for your disciple making influence? None. 41, what are your main messages? No messages. Just chillin'. 42, are you pursuing and involving yourself in fruitful projects that advance building the kingdom? No, actually I'm not. Are you interested in focus on continual spiritual growth in yourself, your wife, and your family? When I have a wife one day, if she's interested in spiritual growth, I'll support that, but not really interested or focused in mine. What is your heart towards the lost soul, and what do you believe your duty to God is regarding that soul? I believe in helping people, but I don't think it's a duty to God. What is your vision for the church? I have no vision for the church. I really don't. Well, that's not true. I don't care what the church does, as long as they're not like doing anything too crazy. I might snark on them a little bit though. 46. What do you think are some of the main problems of the evangelical churches of today? Honestly, I feel like I have a different view of this than most snarkers. I personally don't care what the churches are doing. I'm not as offended by some of the stuff. Like, some of the stuff isn't as crazy to me. I think as long as they're not really hurting people, I think that they're fine. If Christians want to be Christians, like, that does not offend me, and I don't think that they should be told not to do that. As long as they're not hurting somebody, I just to be clear. What is your view on the church and baptism, the church and communion, the church and evangelicism? I think that infant baptisms are really cute. I'm not gonna lie. That's my only thought. 49. What is the role of music and worship in the church? Okay, my only thought is I think it's really weird when they have like those um huge bands. I think it's like, why are you trying to make it a concert? It's very interesting to me though. 50. How many times have you read through your Bible? Never have read through it all. Does God give you personal insights in His word that are just for you? No. Who do you share the insights with that God gives you? No one, because I don't get them. 53. How often do you have prayer time? I don't pray. I think I have like deep thinking times, like before bed, and really reevaluating things. I'd say maybe while I'm driving, while I'm working out, but not necessarily prayer time. So I would say that's about daily. So that answers question 54, or sorry, 55. 56, how long do you pray? I don't pray at all, but, my deep thinking time is just however long the moment lasts. Do you have a prayer book or a prayer journal? Would you let me see it? I do have a regular journal, and I probably would not let my wife see it. I feel like it's so personal, and it's the only place I can really be honest, and work out things. And sometimes I just don't even necessarily feel that way. It's like in the moment I'm writing stuff down. It wouldn't necessarily be my real feelings. It's like my in the moment feelings. So I definitely wouldn't want to share that. 58. Do you plan for us to read the Bible together as a couple? No. 59. Do you plan to initiate family devotions with your future family? No. Did your family have devotions together? Yes. Up until the age of about like 10 or 11. Who initiated family devotions? Your mom or dad? My dad did. My mom really wasn't involved, although she is religious as well. 62, how often did you have family devotions? I don't remember. It was not like a daily thing. I think that like sometimes he'd get a stick up his ass and like do it like several times a week, and then sometimes he just wouldn't do it at all. He worked a lot. He was available for us, but he did work a lot, so he would go to bed pretty early around the time we were going to bed. So 63, what is your faith foundation? So I'm assuming that means like how you got started in faith. Obviously, I'm not still religious, but we were in a Presbyterian church, and it was mostly my dad putting in faith foundations. 64, why do you believe what you believe? My thing is like I'm not sure about anything. Um, I don't believe in God, and it's more just because like I don't have a belief. It's not because I don't think it's real, or because I think it's real. It's just because I don't personally have a belief. 65. Can you send me some examples? No, I can't. All right. So now this is like a little bit more of an interesting section. Your relationships. Describe your relationship with your father. Was it honoring? Was it obedient? I feel like sometimes. Okay, so my father, he is probably one of the most involved fathers. Although he worked a lot, he didn't really have any hobbies. He just like really liked to hang out with us, and I think that was really genuine. Like he didn't want to have friends. He just really just wanted to hang out with us. Like we were his main priority and his best friends. So, was it obedient? He is one person. If he tells me to do anything, because he can be a little condescending, I'm not gonna lie. Like I just like the way he says it will just piss me off so fast. So sometimes I usually do take his advice because he is usually right. However, I'm gonna pretend like I'm not gonna take his advice, so I don't know if that's necessarily obedient. Oh my god, number 67. Jim Bob wants to know medical history. He doesn't have any mental problems. He has early stages prostate cancer. So, but he's fine. He'll be totally fine. But that's the only thing I can think of. Describe your relationship with your mother. Was it honoring? Was it obedient? My mother is my queen. I would do anything for her, anything she asks. We do like to banter back and forth, but it's pretty obedient. I love her. We like to do things together, what have you. As for medical problems, she has hypothyroidism, which I also have, shout out. But that's really the only thing. Number 70 I already covered in the other section. I just have the one sister. She is 21. I'm not going to say where she lives, but she lives like an hour and 15 minutes from my parents. And I've already described our relationship. Number 71, can you describe your relationship with your grandparents? Okay, my paternal grandparents, they are, well, my grandmother currently has dementia. My grandfather passed away in July of 2019. However, we spent a ton of time, we meaning me and my sister, but also my two other cousins. We spent a ton of time with them. My mom worked 3 days a week growing up, and so we would go home with them after school, be with them, whatever. They were definitely people you could always go to. They always wanted just to be with their family, very dedicated to their family. My grandfather had an aneurysm before I was born, and so he was kind of regressed to a much younger age. It was a really interesting way to have a grandfather, and it was so much fun. He was so funny. He had the quickest little comebacks. He was hilarious. Just so funny. My grandma took great care of him, took great care of everyone. And so now she has dementia, and he's passed on. My maternal grandparents, my grandfather, he died when I was very little. I don't ever remember knowing him. My grandmother, I actually saw her today, and so the maternal grandmother I just saw today, the paternal grandmother, I'm having dinner with her tonight. But so my maternal grandmother, very artsy, whatnot. We didn't spend as much time with her growing up, but she's very eccentric, very funny, very lively. Like she's 83, 84. She still, is visiting friends, talks to friends on the phone all the time. That's kind of where I got it from. And she remarried a guy named Gary, and he's been like my other grandfather, because I don't really remember having the other one, but really great people, took great care of me. 72. Can you describe your relationship with your friends? Have you ever been peer dependent? How did you resist this? I have a bunch of really good friends, and they all kind of get along, but aren't necessarily like friends with each other. I have a huge group chat called the Peanut Gallery, where it's just all of my buddies, and I just send like little links and like funny stuff in there all the time. Have I ever been peer dependent? I feel like he's saying this like a bad thing. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Me and my best friend, like if I don't talk to her in like 2 days, I like start going crazy, and I'm not resisting it. Like why do I need to resist that, girl? Are you consistently faithful in fulfilling your commitments? Give examples. I feel like I'm always trying to do what I say I'm gonna do. I think that's important to me. Um, just if I tell my dad I'm gonna do something, if I tell like my buddies I'm gonna hang out with them, I try to do that. I tell my girlfriend something, I try to keep all my commitments and my plans. Especially with my buddies, like they don't play about changing plans up last minute like that. Do you show a regular willingness to serve others in what ways? I've actually been working on this, like really spending more time, doing my grandmother's meals, trying to be helpful around, the house when I'm here at my parents' house. Obviously, I have my own house, but I stay here quite often to see my girlfriend. So I think that just being helpful and listening to people's issues, I've been trying to be better about that. 75. In what ways is self-centeredness expressed in your life? I feel like the one thing I can think of is honestly, I have like a thyroid issue, and so I need a lot of sleep, and I'm very like self-centered almost about my sleep. Like I'm very protective over it. So I'd say probably that. There'll be a lot of things I just won't do because I know I need my sleep. How do you relate to authority in your life? If so, what adjectives would your employers use to describe you? I'm not gonna talk about my employer, so I'm gonna like skip this one. Have you ever been a supervisor? Yes, but I'm not gonna talk about that as well. 78. Are you ever manipulative of others? I think anybody who says they aren't manipulative at times is lying. 79. What kinds of situations cause you frustration? How do you respond? Really being overstimulated. Most times I'll try to get a moment to myself to get myself together. That could be at work or, like with my little cousin or something. Just trying to get a moment to yourself to calm down. 80. What circumstances might make you impatient or angry? I feel like those are two very different questions. How do you handle anger? Have you ever been violent? Do you raise your voice when angry? Okay, so weird thing about me and anger is like I don't really get angry, and I honestly think it's because I've been on the same SNRI since I was like 16 years old, so 7 years. So I honestly don't really get angry. If anything, I get just sad. Um, I don't get angry very often at all. I've never been violent, and I never really raise my voice when I'm angry because I didn't really grow up around that. Like if I'm around people who like very angrily raise their voice, it like makes me really uncomfortable. I cry most of the time because I'm just like not used to it. Like it's so different. 81. Have you ever had to deal with a broken relationship? If so, please provide the details of. So I don't know what they mean by this. Like I've had several different relationships that were now broken up, obviously. But as for when they say like broken relationships, if that means divorce, honestly, I'm not around it at all. My parents are still married. My aunts and uncles are still married. Well, except the ones I don't talk to. I have two uncles I don't talk to who are divorced, but um, my grandparents are. Oh well, I guess my maternal grandmother did get divorced. But she remarried before I even knew that she had had a divorce. Like I was like 3 years old, so I really haven't been around divorce like that. 82. What do you expect your relationship with the family of your spouse to be? Honestly, I would love to have like a mother-in-law I could like hang out with because I don't know why. I just think that's so fun. I did date a girl for a really long time that I was really serious with that I had a really negative relationship with her mother because she had a negative relationship with her mother. And I really had to mourn that when I thought that it could be something more serious because I always thought that I'd have like a really close relationship with my mother-in-law and like it would be fun. But most of the people I've dated, um, like their family I've been really close with. And then my current girlfriend I've been dating for the last half a year. I haven't met her parents yet actually because they live, um, I think like 6 hours away. So hopefully I'll meet them this summer though. So that would be the relationship I would love. But for 83, what do you expect your spouse's relationship to be with their fam? Well, with my family. Sorry, I read that wrong. I would love them to be. I think that honestly, I would very prefer they would go to things with me, and have fun, be able to have fun with my family. I definitely want somebody who's encouraging of me having a close relationship with them and continuing that. So the next question is asking me to list 3 friends, and then the next few questions is about each friend. So number 1, I was just gonna go with my 3 closest friends: my best friend Miranda, my best friend Molly, and my best friend Audrey. Okay, so how did I get to know them? Miranda, I got to know her by we were working at the Y. I was 16, she was 19. Molly, I met her on the first day of preschool, and Audrey, I actually hit her up after I met her at a football game. So why are they my friends? I'm sure I have like a specific reason for all of them, but they're just funny. They're good people. They treat me well. I treat them well, and they really feel like it's just like people I love to go through life with, I think. 87. So what do you like most about them? I would say all 3 of them, their humor, and each of their humors are quite a little bit different, especially Molly from the other 2. But each one just gets me laughing until my stomach hurts, like I'm getting abs or something. Maybe that's not the best answer, but that's my answer. 88. What will your relationship with them be after marriage be like? Honestly, I think it's gonna be similar. Just bringing her along. Even in my relationship now, I bring her along sometimes on different friend hangouts. Like I have my own hangouts, but then I bring her sometimes too, just depending on the activity and if I've had some alone time with them. 89. Do you have any friends of the opposite sex? I do have one. His name is Evan. However, I feel like this question for me, since I am attracted to women, should be: do you have friends of the same sex? And yes, almost. I think that Evan is really my only really close friend that is of the opposite sex. So, number 90. What is the level of your relationship with them now? I'm assuming he means like the opposite sex friends. We're dogs. 91. What will the level of your relationship with them be after marriage? Opposite sex, same sex friends, it's gonna be the same. Let's be real. 92. What type of relationship do you want your spouse to have with your friends? I would love her to, come along, kind of like I'm doing now in my regular relationship, my non-marital relationship. Just come along and have fun with us. Okay, so some of these questions actually aren't gonna apply to me. So this section is called marital roles. So these first couple questions on these marital roles questions are about like having a specific girl in mind. I honestly don't want to answer this, but I'll read them out for you. 93, why do you feel like I'm the one for you? 94, are there any verses that helped you confirm the decision? 95, how long did you pray about this? 96, what counselors did you ask? 97, were there any hesitations? If so, what were they? Do you think we're compatible? Why? So he's obviously sending these. I guess the girl can read them, but this is like to Jim Bob or the prospective dad, father-in-law. So it's kind of an awkward phrasing. So again, next page, more questions. We're on number 99. Do you think of us as a team? Do you think of me as the wife? And then this is kind of listed weird because it's like not really a question. It's like other questions, 101 through 103 if you look on your screen. Do you see me as the wife behind you, leading you, or beside of you? I feel like, they know what to answer. 104, do you feel as God's will for our lives together? 105, how do you see God using us as a couple? Again, all of these I can't really answer because I don't have a specific person in mind when I'm answering these. I guess I could use my girlfriend, but I'm not going to. 106, what do you believe are non-negotiable elements of a Christ-honoring marriage? Okay, so 107. Now, finally, some questions I can answer. After marriage, do you think that you were one to express romantic feelings verbally? I'm such a sap. I said that earlier in this video. I'm such a sap. I'm such a words of affirmation person, such a compliments person. I love expressing myself verbally to my partner. After marriage, do you think that you want to express affection in public? Honestly, I don't. I'm not a huge PDA person. 109. When there's a dispute in your marriage, religious or otherwise, how should the conflict get resolved? Talking, just talking through it, compromise, what have you. 110. What is your understanding of a Christian marriage? Girl, I feel like I have different. It depends on people's standards, I guess, if they're a Christian. 111. Why have you chosen me / other person as a special spouse? Okay, that's another one I can't really answer. What is the role of a husband? 112. Like for me, nothing, because I am gay. 113. What is the role of the wife? They're both the wives, so I don't really have an answer for those, honestly. 116, in making decisions, what role does God's word play? None for me. 117, what is your attitude towards women? What's their purpose? I don't really think they have like a specific purpose. They can have their own life purposes. I love women. I prefer to be around women, romantically or otherwise. I really do love women. I think they're really interesting. Just in general, I get along better with women. 118, what is your view on the role of a wife? I'm pretty flexible on kind of what I want for a role of a wife. I definitely am more of a provider type. I'm cool with having like a stay-at-home wife, a working wife. Um, I'm kind of chill with whatever, depends on, where life takes me. 119, what are your views on women working outside the home? Okay, well, that gets into it. I think that, I want my wife to have a choice whether she wants to stay home or work outside the home. I think it's important because I do feel like I am more of a provider to give her that choice. 120. What are your views concerning divorce and remarriage? I actually have like an interesting one, I guess, and this is just for me personally. It's not really what I think that other people should believe, but for me in my life, I definitely with divorce and remarriage, I make a commitment to somebody. I'm going to keep it as much as I possibly can. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to like absolutely put in as much effort until it just falls apart. That I'm gonna definitely give it as many tries as I can. Before it comes to divorce. Remarriage. I don't really have an opinion on it. 121. Can you tell me your thoughts on how a man should provide for a wife and a family? I don't really think about men that often. Not that I don't like men, but I am more of a provider, and I think that is my role. But it's just more natural for me. But I don't really have any ideas on what all men and all women should do. So 122. How do you feel about guns? I don't have any. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I might one day. I've considered getting some. But honestly, I'm just not sure. I think I'd have to do more research on it. I'm just really not sure if I would want one, if I wouldn't want one. We'll see. 123. I feel like I've already answered this. How do you see your future relationship with your in-laws working out? I know what I would love, but I don't really have much expectation for my in-law relationship, other than I would really love to have a close mother-in-law relationship. Okay, 124 is juicy. So, first part of the question, what has been your prior experience with dating and romance? I had a 1 year relationship in high school. I had a 2 year long relationship when I was 19, and I dated a girl for a year from like 2023 to 2024, and I've been dating a girl for 6 months. And then I've done a lot of casual dating in between. Okay, so the second part is, have you ever been kissed or been physically intimate in any way with a girl or woman? If so, explain the circumstances. Yes, and I'm honestly not going to explain the circumstances on here. 125, what is your stand on, I don't know what to call it on here because I don't even know if you can talk about that on here. What about in the case of SA? I'm not going to answer that question because I'm not positive we can, like, go into detail on here, but I can go into detail if anybody's curious in the comments. 126, how do you relate to children? How often are you around children? I'm around children. My cousin is 6.5, and I'm around her pretty often. I think I'm pretty good with children. I used to work with children in high school. I definitely get overstimulated by children, definitely, though. 127, what are your thoughts regarding birth control and family planning? I never think about that. I am gay. I never think about birth control, and I never think about family planning. Honestly, it kind of blows my mind that, like, when people have sex, they have to think about that. It's so interesting. 128, how many children do you hope to have? So, I don't really have a set number. Obviously, things will be a little different for me with having children. I could see myself, honestly, I want to kind of go with what my wife wants because I could see myself with no children. I could see myself happy with 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think I want more than 4. So I think that I don't think I could decide. So I think I'd have to, go with the flow and see how I take each one if I have one, and then also, kind of leave that up to my wife. 129. What is your attitude towards adopting children? I'm totally cool with that. Would be open to that as well if that's more where my wife's heart is. 130. What are your views on child training, including corporal punishment? I don't have children, so I don't really know how it is. I think that anything that's super violent, though, is definitely out of the question for me. I think a slight pat on the butt. I just don't know. Like, I think I would really want to do more research and really, I think that would be like a last case resort. Like, I can't imagine doing that, to be honest. Because it just doesn't seem productive. But then again, it's like I'm not a parent. I don't know. 131. What are your views on homeschooling? I would be totally cool with homeschooling. It's just that the resources and like groups for homeschooling around in my area, maybe like more where I have a house instead of like where I grew up. I don't know. I don't know how much like secular like co-ops they have, resources. So I'm just not sure about that. But I think if my wife wanted to homeschool, that would be fine with me. I just know I definitely don't want to do private school because I'm cheap as fuck. 132, what are your thoughts on family worship? What would be the key attributes of such practice in your home? None. 133, when you fail someone, what actions do you do to rectify the situation? Honestly, I would just say I fucked up, and then I say how I'm going to do better and like my plan to do better. 134, are you honest? Do you ever slant the truth? Everyone slants the truth. How have you prepared yourself for marriage? I do think I quite have, actually. I've got investments going. I got my career going. I've got a house. Right now, it's like a little tiny condo in a downtown area. So I think that when I get married, I'll definitely sell that and then go a little bit more in the suburbs and get a larger house. 136, in what ways do you think you may need to grow up before marriage? Oh my god. I honestly probably really do. I need to be a better listener, for one thing. I think that that's definitely one thing I need to work on. 137, what does leave and cleave mean to you? Are you prepared to put your wife first before all others, including your parents? Honestly, as a secular person, leave and cleave is honestly a really good thing in my mind. Personally, I think that you should put your spouse before all others. 138, how do you think your spouse should spend vacations? I think that mostly together. I think that, if you and your buddies want to go on like one vacation a year, perhaps, you go on a couple vacations and then a family vacation, perhaps. I don't know. Just as long as it's in the budget, don't really care. 139, what is your view of divorce? I've already given that. 140, is there ever a cause for divorce? Yes. 141, can you ever justify it? Sure. Is there anything that separates a man and woman once God joins them together? I just don't believe God joins them together. 143, what about immorality or unfaithfulness in the marriage? I think that's absolutely cause for divorce. Number 144, how would you respond to me if I notice something about a lady in relation to you that bothers me? I think it depends on who it is. I think if it's a close friend of mine, I'm willing to make little compromises. I've honestly had a relationship that kind of tried to tear me apart from my buddies. So I think that I would be a little sensitive to that, but still open and willing. My one thing is like my friends, all my close friends I've known from anywhere from 5 to 20 years. And if I have not hooked up with you in 5 to 20 years, then I'm just not going to. I feel like, I also, know my heart in that. I think at work, if there's boundaries that, need to be set up. If it's a new friend that's like too close, I'm not really too concerned about putting boundaries, cutting people off at the sake of my marriage. And maybe that's not the best view, but also I'm not married yet, so that's just kind of the idea I have in my head at the moment. 145, would you listen to me if I asked you to stay away from someone? So again, it's like, is this my best friend? Is this a work colleague? Obviously, I can't stay away from work colleagues. I can put certain boundaries up. If it's like somebody I just like, that's an acquaintance, I really don't give a fuck. I'd rather have, a healthy, secure marriage than like a random friend. 146, what's your view of marriage? I actually, even as a secular person, view it as like a sacred commitment of your word to somebody. I think it's really important. It's like one of the most, I guess, maybe like mother and child, father and child, but next to those, most important relationship that can be had on earth. 147, do you consider yourself a giver or taker? I feel really guilty about taking. I would say I'm more of a giver, but sometimes I'll take. 148, how would your family and friends describe you in the question above? I think more of a giver for sure. And then for these that have a lot of subcategories, on 149, I'm not gonna go into it, but I'm gonna read it for you. What's your view of a father, a husband, wife, mother, a son, and a daughter? And then 150 is, what part does each of them play? Now we're on to moral standards. 152, what are your views on public swimming? I really don't care. I personally do dress pretty modestly, though, I will say, but I don't really have any standards on. That's not for any reason other than, like, I don't like my body. 153, do you use offensive language? I do. 154, do you watch television, R-rated movies, PG-rated movies? What were the last 5 movies you watched? Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go into my Letterboxd. I feel like these are so random, but I really haven't been watching movies lately. These are the last 5 movies I rated on Letterboxd. Alright, so 155. What kind of music do you prefer? I honestly prefer country music or like basic white girl pop music. What kind of music would you find offensive? I haven't really found much music find like super appalling and offensive. 156. Have you ever been exposed to pornography? If so, explain the extent and the circumstances. Never been exposed to it. But I've definitely watched it. 157. Have you ever been exposed to homosexuality? If so, explain the extent and circumstances. I mean, I just exposed myself to it, dating, what have you, gay dating, I guess you could say. 158. Do you currently use any type of drug? Have you in your past? No, not currently. I have very sporadically, maybe like twice a year, smoked weed, like from 18 to 21. 159. Do you have any financial debt? I do not. 160. Have you ever been in trouble with the law? No, I haven't. 161. What tendencies do you have towards prejudice or racism? I think that everybody has prejudice and racism and they have to unlearn it. I feel like almost everyone has prejudice, and if they say they don't, they're lying. 162. Have you ever had periods of rebellion? If so, explain the extent. Are there any unsettled issues with your parents? Honestly, I've never been super rebellious. I've been like kind of a rule follower. Honestly, I don't think that like there's a period of my life I would say was super rebellious. All right, now we're on to a category called your future. 163. Can you describe your life purpose, how you intend to use your interests, experience, skills, and talents to serve and glorify God? I don't intend to do any of that to glorify God, but I do think that my life's purpose is to have a good time, but also to really invest in my people, so my buddies, my family, and every day try to make their lives easier and happier. 164. What role your wife and children play in your life purpose? I think, yeah, just to raise up good kids that are going to be good for the world, but also, serving them and my wife every single day once I have them. 165. What role would your job career play in your life purpose? I do think that money is an amazing resource, so just having money to help out, people I love is important. And that's kind of how my job plays into that. 166. Where do you see yourself in 10 years, in 20 years? So in 10 years, I will be 33. In 20 years, I'll be 43. And I would love to be married. But other than that, I don't have much. I would love to still be in marketing. But I'm pretty flexible. I'm kind of just going where the wind takes me. 167. Where do you see yourself spiritually in 10 years or 20 years? Honestly, I don't see myself being spiritual, but if I become spiritual, I'm totally open to that. So, 168. When you die, how would you like people to remember you? Honestly, I just want people to remember that I love my buddies so much. I love my family so much. 169. What are your goals in life, long and short term? I think that really just to complete that life's purpose of just making my buddies and my family's life better every day and having a good time with them. Um, I don't really have career goals. Like, I want to be more advanced in my career. I want to learn and enhance my skills. But I'm really flexible about where I go. I'm really open to all opportunities. 170. Identify 3 things that you want to accomplish in the near future. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I want to make more YouTube videos. It's really fun. It's something silly I can do where I feel productive. Already this year, I've made like a ton, more than I normally would. Trying to get a little bit more money into savings. And then another thing I want to do is do a little bit more investing. I need to get some more things set up with like the Charles Schwab people and whatnot. 172. What is the purpose of the family / what will be the purpose of your family? I think that just to love each other and support each other is really, I mean, that sounds simple, but I think that is my purpose. I hope that was kind of my family's purpose and whatnot. So I think that would carry on into my life. 173. What's your life verse? I don't have one. 174. What do you feel like is God's will and calling for your life? I don't have one. 175. What made you come to that conclusion? 176. What were the circumstances around you that caused you to make that decision? 177. Do you remember the date and time in life that you realized God's will for your life? 178. Are you headed in the direction that you feel God would have you to go? 179. Are you totally and completely committed to God's will no matter what? Oh my God, why are you screaming? 180. Is there anything that would keep you from following him? 181. Are you open to God changing his will and you going in a different direction if he so chooses? 182. Is quitting or giving up an option for you? I don't know if this is meaning uh, to like religious things, but definitely like pivoting in plans is definitely an option for me. All right, 183, and we're now on to the category of personal character. 183, how do you express your admiration for someone that you know now? I think that I'm really verbally expressive. I will express my admiration for somebody. I'm not really scared of that. 184, how do you express your feelings to someone who has done a favor for you? I'm thankful, and I, go over once, twice, three times and, thank them and really build them up. 185, do you like to write your feelings? Yes, but I can also give them verbally. 186, if you wrong someone, how do you apologize? I feel like that has already been a question, hasn't it? It definitely has, right? 187, if someone has wronged you, how do you want him or her to apologize to you? So the same way I apologize, just say, I did wrong, I admit it, and then, saying I'm going to do better next time in this way. 188, how much time passes before you can forgive someone? Honestly, if it's somebody I trust and they're really, regretful about it, pretty much immediately. With people I trust, it's pretty quick. 189, how do you make important and less important decisions in your life? I'm pretty quick to make decisions. I don't feel like I need to sit around and mull over them too much, but I do put deep thought into them. 190, how do you express anger? So I feel like that was already a question. 191, how do you expect your spouse to express anger? I'm not super into yelling. I really don't like it. It upsets like my soul, honestly. I think that just being stern is fine. Like, you don't need to yell. 192, what do you do when you're angry? That was also already a question. 193, what are the things that you do in your free time? So right now, draw, write. I like to do the stupid ass YouTube channel. I like to talk to my buddies on the phone. I started that new Sims series. I've been really into it. I've been really enjoying doing those, and have been recording pretty quickly. I have a ton that I need to edit. Also, I went recently with my dad to see what Pickleball Paul was talking about, and I've gotten into pickleball. Definitely not as into it as he is, for sure. 194, who is your first on your list of priorities? 195, second, third. I don't think that I have like a person that, maybe like my parents right now, and my greatest friend Miranda, but I don't really have anybody that's like first, because it's not often where somebody really needs me and then three other people need me, so I need to make a first priority list. Like, I don't know. 196, what do you base your priorities on, or why do you feel like they need to be in that order? Usually if it has to do with people, I rank like how close I am with the person. 197, this one doesn't apply to me. If full-time ministry is in the picture for our future and you had to choose between the church or our family being the top priority, which would you choose? Okay, so the next category is home. 198, do you love to have guests in your home for entertainment? Yeah, I enjoy that. Definitely not too often though, but I am really filled with joy when my house is full of people, or my condo or whatever. 199, what are you expecting from your spouse when your friends come to the house? Not much, honestly. Like, I can get things ready. Obviously, if it's her friends, she would, I would help. If it's my friends, she would help, but it's more your responsibility if they're your guests. But just to be nice to them and be hospitable. 200, does the house have to be clean at all times? So my house is clean at all times. I would say 99% of the time. But I also work from home, so it's a little bit easier to kind of, do some work, pick up a few things, vacuum, whatever. 201, what areas that drive you crazy if they aren't clean? The floors, and the countertops, and anything about the bedroom, I think. 202, what do you consider clean? Um, you know, there's dirty and there's like untidy. I can sometimes deal with untidy, but I definitely can't deal with dirty. Like, I can't deal with dirty. Um, I hope that makes sense. I don't know how to explain what I consider clean. Like, I'd literally have to show you photos. 203, do you cook or clean? I don't cook. I'm willing to learn. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get my mom to teach me how to cook a little better. I think that what I really need to learn is what to get at the grocery store. And I hate the grocery store. 204, will you pitch in and help out with the cleaning and the cooking? Absolutely. I'd prefer not to be the one cooking. I'd prefer to do the cleaning though. 205, what household duties do you enjoy? I really like vacuuming, but I hate mopping. I don't mind laundry. I don't mind like tidying tasks. I don't mind wiping down countertops and doing dishes, that kind of thing. So 206, what household duties do you hate doing? Only thing I can think of right now is mopping. 207, do you do outside chores? So right now my home is a condo and I don't have any outdoor space because it's almost like an apartment. So I would, but there's just not an opportunity for me to do so. So now onto the category of biblical womanhood. I feel like a lot of these aren't going to apply to me. 208, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the worth of a woman? Absolutely 10, I love women. 209, how do you treat women in general? I think it depends on the woman. Like, I just, I'm nice to everybody. Like, but if I have beef with somebody, it doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman, you know what I mean? I don't really have much beef, though. I don't even know how I'm saying that. Like, I cannot name one person I currently have beef with. 210, how do you treat your mom or sisters? I'm a little bit more protective over my mom than my sister. But yeah, me and my sister get along, but it's not like we have that kind of relationship. 211, do you do special things for them occasionally or just when you have to? Yeah, I do special things for my mom. I help her around the house. I, get her little things, whatever. 212, do you open the door for ladies? I open the door for anyone. 213, do you let them go first? I don't really know what that means. Like, I let my girlfriend go first with everything. 214, do you offer to help carry things for them? If it's a really old lady, I feel like it would be weird if I offered to help carry, like, an able woman's things, like at the grocery store or something. My girlfriend or my best friend or my mom, I definitely offer to help carry their things. So, technically, this is, like, part of 214, but it says, are they to only speak when spoken to? No. 215, do you feel women have a voice and are encouraged to speak their opinion? Absolutely. 216, have you ever taken a woman's advice? Give me an example of this. Literally, I feel like I only take women's advice most of the time. Sometimes I'll take my dad's advice, but there's not a lot of men that I ask advice from. Maybe I should get some more men to take advice from. 217, how important is it to you for you to be a gentleman? I don't consider myself a gentleman because I don't associate with being like a man. I don't know. I try to be kind and hospitable. 218, have you ever raised a hand or raised a hand to hit, or have you hit a woman before? Oh my god, no. 219, how did your dad treat your mom in this area? Of, like, hitting? Like, my dad didn't hit my mom, like, if that's what you're asking. 220, when at home or in the car, who does the temperature have to be set to please you or the others in the car? How about in regards to your mom or your sister? Definitely will let my mom or, like, my girlfriend or my best friend choose what the temperature is set to, honestly. 221. So this starts our category of modesty and appearance. What's your thinking on these issues? Be specific where you draw the line. I'd say I'm pretty modest. I've dated girls who are pretty immodest. I'm more into modest girls at this point in my life, like a little bit more modest. Definitely not prudes in any way. I think that, my girlfriend definitely wouldn't fit Duggar standards at all times, especially like the early Duggar years. Absolutely not. But even now, I don't think that she'd quite hit their modesty standards, but I wouldn't say she's immodest. All right, number 222. What bothers you in the area of modesty? I'm not super offended by much. It's just like I've kind of ended up with more modest girls my last two relationships. I think what I'm really looking for is like modest, like not boastful and that kind of thing. Not being like super full of herself, I guess. So 223. What's your definition of biblical modesty? Like, I'm sure there is like a definition of biblical modesty. I don't have a personal one, because I'm not a Christian. 224. What if our opinions differ? Like my girlfriend wanted to be like super immodest. I think it's all in your behavior, to be honest, and like who's around. I don't want like a bunch of guys talking to her, to be honest, or like it's just like, respect, I guess. I don't know, maybe that's toxic of me, but I'm just not super into that. I think that it's all in like the mindset of like, are you dressing for yourself or are you dressing for other people? 225. Do you have Bible to back up your opinion? Okay, that's not me misspeaking. That's just like a weird phrasing of that. Is it a conviction or an opinion? So I don't have, that's not a biblically backed up opinion. 226, are pants ever acceptable? Absolutely. I'd say my girlfriend mostly wears pants, although she did wear a dress the other night. 227, what do you think about name brand clothing and emblems? I don't mind it, but I'm not into super expensive clothing. But I don't mind having name brand clothing. I don't mind not having name brand clothing. 228, will you regulate your children's clothing? Of course, I feel like everybody should regulate their really small children's clothing. Even when they're teenagers, I do think that I would probably prefer them to be a little bit more modest. Just because I don't want them to, especially, be preyed upon by older people. I think that would be the big thing. 229, how will you approach your wife and daughters if they were immodest? I think I'd just tell them, well, I guess specifically my daughters, I'd just be like, I'm doing this to protect you from creeps out there. It's not that I'm, like, shaming you. If you want to wear this around the house, like, I don't really care, but this is not, like, something I need to protect you, and you can't wear that out. You know what I mean? Alright, so now we're on the category of your family. So 230, how would you describe your relationship with your family, choosing 1, 2, or 3? We're best friends, / we talk about everything. We're cordial. We're enemies. I would say 1. 231, choose these options in each of the following relationships with your dad, your mom, each of your siblings, your grandparents. I would say, I guess, like, maybe not as close with my dad, but we definitely talk about a lot. I ask for his advice sometimes. We see each other quite frequently. My mom, I love my mom. My mom is my everything. Definitely a 1. Camille, my sister, I would say 1. And my grandparents, honestly, I would say 1, but I definitely don't tell them everything because they're old and they worry about a lot. 232, how much contact do you have with your family daily? I mean, I talk to at least like 4 or 5 members of my family every day. So 233, when I'm back at my condo, it's usually phone calls for the type of contact I have with them. But when I'm staying here at my parents', I see my parents every day. I see my grandparents quite frequently. I see my aunt a lot. I talk to my aunt on the phone every single day. I talk to my sister on the phone a lot. I don't see her very often. And then I'll have random family members I'll chat with or text every once in a while. So 234, how often do you have this type of contact? So like my parents and my aunt is daily. I would say my sister's weekly. My cousins are weekly to monthly. And my grandparents are weekly to monthly. 235, if daily, how many times a day? So when I'm living at my condo, I'd say I talk to my mom on the phone at least 4 times a day. It's actually pretty bad. 236, what do you feel are your current and future obligations to your family? I think that for my family, I think that I do want to take care of my parents when they're older. If that means, living near them, like moving them near me, getting like a mother-in-law suite, I think that it is my obligation to take care of them in like a multi-generational household way. So 237, what do you feel are your current and future obligations to my family, so me and my future spouse? Honestly, I'm not sure. I think that it really depends on their relationship. I think that, if you have a really good relationship with your parents and they take really amazing care of you as a child, you should, take care of them into their elderlyhood. But, if your parents are super abusive, didn't really take care of you, I don't think that you necessarily have that obligation. It really depends on who I end up with. Let's move on to our next category of family and children. So 238, what do you believe are non-negotiable elements of a Christ-honoring family? So that's not something that relates to me. 239, do you support the idea of utilizing babysitters? I don't love babysitters. I prefer like grandparents. So when I was growing up, my grandparents or my cousins took care of me when my mom was gone. So I don't know. I just don't love like not having somebody I completely trust. 240, do you want to have children? If not, why? I kind of said my answer about how many children I want already. 241, to your best understanding, are you able to have children? Yes. 240, well, not like with my wife, but you know what I mean, like I can have a baby. 242, do you want to have children in the first 2 years of marriage? If not, when? Honestly, like it depends on what age I get married. Probably yes, because I'm already 23, so I couldn't be married before like 25. So I think that's appropriate, within 2 years of 25 or more. So again, I don't know if I can actually talk about this on YouTube. If you look on the screen at 243, I've already answered that question, and I can put it below in the comments if you guys are interested. So 244, what is the best methods of raising children? I don't really know like the names of like methods of raising children, and I wouldn't like follow to a T like a method of raising children. 245, what is the best methods of disciplining children? I honestly don't know. 246, how were you raised? So we had like light spankings, but nothing crazy. It was more just to scare us into acting right when we were toddlers, but really didn't go past that. That kind of answers the question, how is disciplined? 248, do you believe in spanking children? Under what circumstances? I already answered this, not really. 249, do you believe in Christian school for your children? Absolutely not. 250, do you believe in homeschooling for your children? I'm open to it. I answered that in a prior question. 251, what type of relationship should your children have with non-Baptist classmates, friends? I would prefer them to have non-Baptist classmates and friends. 252, would you send your children to visit their extended family if they lived in another state or country? I don't know, like how it with it being like flying and stuff. Maybe when they're older. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't send like a really small child flying. 253, what type of relationship do you want your children to have with all their grandparents? I want them to be really close with my parents, ideally, but as for the other spouse's parents, it really depends on if they're safe people. 254, if there are members of my family that are not Baptist, what relationship do you want them to have with them? I really don't give a shit. 255, how important is the upbringing of children in the grand scheme of things? I think that it's like your complete, like, legacy if you have children like that is like, that's the most important time, and if you fuck that time up, you never get it back. You can never change it. You can never come back from it. If you fuck that time up, you're fucked. Like, that's kind of dramatic, but I think that when you have children, it's like really important, like those first 18 years to be that person. 256, how significant is it to be entrusted with the guardianship of their souls? So it's kind of different for me. I mean, it's important to guard their souls. Yeah, I mean, it's like the most important thing when you're a parent. 257, do you want children? I'm down for children. I'm not like set on it. If I don't have children, I'm totally happy. If I do have quite a few, I'm totally happy. 258, do you view children as a measure of God's favor or added blessing that he may or may not give? That's such an interesting view. No, I don't. 259, how do you discipline children? This question has been asked like 17 times in this questionnaire, bro. 260, what are the duties of children? I think that, I believe in chores for children, and I believe that you have to be teaching them stuff just like daily, and so making sure that they have things to learn and you're teaching them things, but that's not really, I guess, their duty. That's more your duty, isn't it? 261, what standard of excellence are they held to? I don't even know how to answer that question, quite frankly. 262, where should we set expectations for them? I think that children should have expectations in all parts of their life, I guess. I mean, I think that expectations and schedules and whatnot should be really important. What would their education entail? I guess it depends on if they're homeschooled or not. I think that, obviously if they're in public school, their education, you don't really get to be in charge of what their education entails, which I don't love that idea, but it's kind of what we got in America. 264, how do you treat an unsafe child spiritually and practically in the context of a Christian family? I don't really care. Well, I do care. I don't want them to be like shamed or anything, but it wouldn't be a thing for my family. 265, when does corporal punishment begin? Not, I guess none for me. 266, how do you begin to train infants? I know what they're asking here. I'm not answering that because I'm not into training infants. 267, what does play look like for children in free time? I think that children should be pretty scheduled, but have a lot of free time to hang out and play and really be creative. What attitudes or personality traits are held up as off limits? I mean, I definitely am not going to allow my children to act out in ways that are like ungrateful, that kind of thing, but I do want them to express themselves and be able to express negative feelings as well. 269, what words or phrases are off limits? I definitely don't want them cussing outside the home. I mean, if a cuss word comes out inside the home, I'm not gonna like freak out. 270, what are the things you appreciate most about the way your parents raised you? I think that they're just dedication. I knew that they were always there, always there. And I think that that's like the most important thing for a child. It felt so safe growing up. All right, 271, what would you do differently from your parents? I guess firstly, sometimes they can view things so black and white. I wouldn't do that as much. And then also not raise my kids Christian. 272, who do you want your children to grow up to be? I don't really have like a set vision of who I want them to be. I just want them to be, good people. That kind of sounds stupid and like basic, but it's true. 273. How would we model ourselves to our children? So yeah, I think that I definitely am gonna think about more. Like once you have children, you definitely have to think about more like the traits that you're modeling and like the language you're using and how you're speaking with kindness. But 274. Do you believe in birth control? I already answered this question. 275. Do you believe in abstinence for teenagers? I don't think that you should be encouraging them to do that, but sometimes they do, and so they need that information. So kind of, but kind of not. How many children would you like to have? This question has been asked like 3 times. 277. Do you have a gender preference? If so, why? I really don't have a preference on the gender of my child. 278. Do you have a preference on home birth or hospital birth? Hospital for sure. 279. Do you have a problem with nursing versus bottle feeding? I prefer nursing, but if it can't be done, bottle feeding is fine. 280. Are you approachable in the areas of child rearing or any area? For sure. I'm pretty flexible on most things. Obviously, like the main values, not really, but on most things, I would say yeah. Alright, so 281 and 282, what are your views on discipline and spanking? Those questions have been asked 3 times, so I'm not going to answer those anymore. 283, how were you dealt with when you did something wrong when you were a child? I mean, in a multitude of ways. It really depended on my age and, like, my remorse and their stress level at the time. 284, do you plan on dealing with our children the same way? I guess similar. I think I'd be a little bit softer, but then again, like, I don't know how stressed I'm gonna be. I can't really judge them because I wasn't, like, walking in their shoes. 285, do you feel it was biblical way of dealing with the problem? I don't really have an opinion on if their parenting was biblical. 286, were you ever spanked in anger? I'm sure I was spanked in frustration, but not hard. I was, like, 3 years old, and it was definitely not hard at all. 287, how did that make you feel? I mean, I think that we would get more embarrassed than anything. 288, have you dealt with that offense, if any? No, I don't really care. It didn't bother me. I don't think that it affected me at all. 289, do you have a different way in mind? I don't think I'd necessarily, because I don't think it, like, really solved anything. Like, it wasn't a big deal, but it also didn't help. Like, it kind of just made us embarrassed. It wasn't helpful, in my opinion. 290, would you be willing to listen to Dr. Davis's parenting DVD before and after we have children? So any of my Duggar historians, IBLP historians in the chat, are we familiar with Dr. Davis's parenting DVD? Is that something that because I'm trying to determine, is this like a template or is this Jim Bob's questionnaire? So let me know in the comments. Do you know if Jim Bob is like a Dr. Davis, whoever that is, stan? But no, I would not be willing to listen to that DVD. 291. Are you willing to accept advice about parenting and ask advice from both of our parents? Of course. I think that, I respect my parents and how they raised me. I would be willing to hear what my spouse's parents have to say as well. Now for our next section, finances. 293. What is your definition of wealth? Honestly, for me, it's just not being super worried about your finances, like looking over them, having a watchful eye, but not being worried. 294, how do you spend money? I don't spend money on much. My house is paid off, so I pay for like my power, my internet, I pay for food and groceries, obviously. I pay for all my dates with my girlfriend. I don't pay for a lot. House insurance, I'm on my parents' insurance, and their car insurance. I probably need to get off the car insurance. And then also I'm on their phone bill as well. So yeah, I don't have many expenses at the moment. I've been thankful that, I'm still under the age of 26, can stay on a lot of their insurances. But I do get insurance through my employer if I needed it. 295, how do you save money? I don't do a lot of budgeting because I know that I'm, not living above my means. I probably should take more care of, probably, food budget's probably my worst. I probably should have a food budget, you know what I mean? 296, how do you think that your use of money will change after marriage? I think I'll get a lot stricter on my personal budget, on my food budget and whatnot. I think that, definitely being a little stricter. 297, do you have any debts now? I don't. 298, do you use credit cards? I actually don't. I probably should, because I'm sure my credit is absolutely horrible. Or I just, I probably have no credit score, quite honestly, and that's really irresponsible of me. I kind of grew up in the same way that the Duggars did, with like really avoiding debt um, at all costs. Like I bought my house in cash. I buy everything in cash. I don't really take out loans or anything, but honestly, I probably should, just to start building my credit. Number 299, already on 299. I know I've been yapping forever. Do you support the idea of taking loans to buy a new home? I don't think I'd ever buy a new home. Taking loans out to buy a home, if they're responsible, is fine. 300, what are you expecting from your spouse financially? I would hate to get with somebody with huge debts, but if somebody has like a little debt, it's okay. Definitely would not love somebody with huge debt. I'm just gonna be honest. 301, what is your financial responsibility in the marriage? I think I do have a little bit more of an eye for finances and being frugal. So I think that my responsibility is to keep us frugal. 302, I've already answered this. Do you support the idea of a working wife if that's what she wants? If she wants to be at home, it's fine. 303, if so, how do you think a dual income family should manage funds? I think I would just manage them together. Probably share bank account, I would assume. 304, do you currently use a budget to manage your finances? No, I really need to start, at least with my food budget, because that's really like my biggest expense at the moment. Or maybe not my biggest expense, but my most, my expense that I could probably make the most improvements upon. 305, who are those to whom you're financially responsible? I guess no one. If I need advice, I ask my dad. 306, what's your current job? My current job. I feel like that being like question 306 is just so funny. I know it's in sections, but like that's the 306th thing you ask is what this man's job is. I work in marketing. 307, are you punctual or late for work? I would say I'm pretty punctual. I work remotely, so I would say I'm logged on pretty good in the mornings. 308, do you plan on handling the finances? Would you seek my opinion on purchasing beforehand? I think that everything will be joint, and so a joint conversation, I would hope. 309, do you pay your bills on time? Yes. 310, can I see your last 4 months worth of bank statements? The internet could, but if my wife wanted to see that, I guess that's fine. 311, do you have any debt at the present time? Oh my god, he's already asked that. No. 312, have you had any debt in the past? No. 312, what did you do to get out of it? 314, how do you feel about debt? Is it a good or bad thing? I don't love it, but I understand for building credit, whatnot. 315, do you live on a budget? He's already asked that. 316, are you willing to live on a budget? Yes. 317, do you have any credit cards? Oh my god, whoever made this, if it is Jump Up or if it is somebody else, can we get an edit? Like, damn, like this is a lot of the same questions. No, I don't. 318, how many do you have? None. 319, how much do you owe on each of them? None. 320, what is your goal or purpose in owning on and paying off credit cards? I don't have any right now, but I do need to build my credit. I know I keep saying that. 321, what determines whether or not you make a purchase? Give me some recent examples. If it really makes sense in my life, can I afford it? Is it going to be really worth it, or is it going to be something I enjoy short term and then I'm just like, ugh. I'm really not into cars, I will say. I don't know if that's going to be a question on here. Are you a wise spender? I would say yes, almost, especially when I was younger, to the point where it was like I wasn't even enjoying my life. Now I've gotten a little bit better on that. 323, do you consider whether or not you have the finances before you purchase something? Always. 324, you compulsive spender? No, absolutely not. It pains me to spend money. 325, do you consult anyone before making a large purchase? Yeah, I consult my dad. 326, would you ask my opinion before making significant purchases? He's asked this like twice, absolutely. 327, what do you consider a significant purchase? I guess like more than a few $100s, to be honest. 328, would you rather spend money on yourself or someone else? It pains me to spend money regardless, but it is a lot easier for me to spend money on somebody else than myself. 329, do you spend money on others even when you don't have the money? No, I wouldn't do that. 330, what is the most you have ever spent on any one thing at a time? I guess my house. But anything else? I guess a vacation maybe. 331, would you rather rent or buy? I guess I prefer to buy if I'm really setting down roots. 332, do you buy used or does it have to be new? Both. How do you feel about new or used car? Okay, this is something I'm like really crazy about. I would never buy a new car. I always buy used cars. Making sure that they're reliable, but would never buy a new car. 334, how do you feel about making car payments? I'd way rather prefer buying them outright when I can. I know that that's, a privilege statement, but I'm not into car payments. 335, who handles the finances in your parents' home, your mom or your dad? I guess my dad. My mom just doesn't like to look at that kind of stuff, and my dad makes a lot more money than her. 336, has anyone ever taught you how to handle your finances? For the most part, my dad has. There's still a lot of things I need to learn. 337, can you balance a checkbook? Yes. 338, do you have a savings account? How much is in it? I do have a savings account. I'm not going to say how much is in it. 339, are you a giver? I would say so. I took my little cousin to Disney when she was 3. I'm not super into giving presents. I asked nobody give me birthday presents. And I asked, I'm not gonna most of the time I'm not gonna give you birthday presents. I'll buy you dinner. I'll do whatever. But I'm not super into like the capitalist like giving presents back and forth kind of thing. I think it's kind of silly because especially with girls, like I'm never gonna get you something that you actually really want. I feel like, and if you, I don't know, and I think that my best friend is always like, oh, that's so weird, but it's just how I am. I just find it really weird. I don't like doing Christmas presents either. I do it with my girlfriend. I do it with my close family, but other than that, I just think it's like so like it's just so materialistic. I'm just not into it. So 340, are you stingy? Honestly, sometimes, but then sometimes I'll be so generous. It really depends on what I think is important. 341, are you generous with what God has given you, to what degree? I don't agree that God gave it to me, so I'm not going to answer that question. So number 342 and a few others I don't really apply to me, so I'm just going to read them out. Do you tithe? What percentage of tithe do you give? How long have you tithed? Do your parents tithe? Okay, that one does apply. They do. Do you give above your tithe? How much generally do you give above the tithe? Damn! 348, do you give on occasion to other needs that you hear about above your regular giving? For instance, if a missionary with a need comes by, would you blah 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 blah? Yeah, actually, not in a religious sense, but if I hear about something, I sometimes will give to certain families. 349, have you ever been stirred emotionally to give? Actually, yes, I have. So now the finance section is over. That was actually, I think, the longest section. Jim Bob cares about that moolah. So let's go on to our next section, which is communication. 350, how do you handle arguments? Again, I'm not a big yeller. I'm not a big anger person. Really just talking it through. 351, would you be willing to go to communication classes? Sure. 352, if you in your family, how are or were differences settled? Yeah, just through talking about it. Talking about it, cooling down, talking about it some more. Um, Mostly just talking, I guess. 353, is your family accustomed to teasing? Yes, very much so. 354, to what degree? Really, we just be making fun of each other all the time, to be honest. And that's kind of what I'm used to, so I got thicker skin, I think, than most people. 355, do you know when to tease and when not to? Honestly, probably not, because all my friends are big teasers, all my family are big teasers, like every extended family, all my buddies got pretty thick skin, so honestly probably don't. Alright, so 356, are you willing to change your limitations on teasing to suit my upbringing for my spouse? A little bit, but I love teasing. Like it's, I love to be teased. I love to tease. I can take it as much as I can give it. So I wouldn't want to give that up because I do feel like it's part of my personality. 357, can you tell me no, or will you let me walk all over you? I used to be very much walk all over you. I think that maybe it could seem like I let girls walk all over me now just because I'm a little bit more calm with it and just really let it simmer. I say little things and just let it sit. I don't take like harsh stances, I guess, because that's just not my personality. But that's an interesting question. The communication section was pretty short. I think one of the shortest. Now we're moving on to anger. I'm guessing he's already asked a bunch of questions on anger, so I'm guessing a lot of these are going to be duplicates. 358, what upsets you? I guess a lot of things upset me. What upset me in like a relationship? I guess not being like appreciated, or like, I don't know. I guess not being appreciated maybe is the first thing that comes to mind. 359, how long does it take you to get angry after something upsets you? I really don't get angry with people I'm really close to. I just more get sad and like hurt. I wouldn't say it's anger. I'm much more willing to. I think I cry a lot more than I would be angry. 360. Do you have a short fuse? Absolutely not. 361. How would you respond if someone were to tell you that you were angry? Um, I'd be like, oh, okay. Even sometimes like people can like be like, oh, you seem angry, but you don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like that maybe could happen. I don't know. I've never been told like I think you're being angry. I don't know how I would respond to that. 362, how angry do you get? So that was kind of similar to, or like pretty much the same question he asked earlier. Again, I've been on SNRIs for so long, I think I just don't experience too much anger because of that. I more get sad and hurt, but don't really act up in that. It's more just like kind of, I don't know how to explain it. But for that reason, I don't get super angry. 363, do you hold your anger in? I don't think so. I usually let it out in like sadness or like crying. 364, do you hold your anger in until you can't stand it and then you let it all out at once? I don't think so. 365, have you ever had such an angry outburst that you threw something, hit something, or hit someone? No. 366, how do you react when something upsets you? Again, usually crying and just expressing myself verbally. 367, when someone upsets you, do you write that person off and never speak to them again? Or do you go to them and try to work out the problem? I think if it's an acquaintance, you can kind of, it depends. But I think that if it's somebody you really trust, I absolutely go and speak to them and work it out immediately. I do think it's interesting that he had like a substantial little anger section. If this is indeed Jim Bob's questionnaire, because he talks about dealing with anger a lot. Let's move on to the next topic, which is changing. Number 368, are you accepting of truth, new truth that you hear, whether it may be from the pulpit, from a book, or from a counselor? I'm always willing to change my mind on things if that's what that question means. Does God have to... Okay, so it got like mixed up when it got copied in. Have to blank. I'm not sure what that says. Blank you. Oh, knock you over the head before you will change something up in your life. I don't think so. I don't think that life has to knock me over the head for me to change, for sure. Are you hard headed? Maybe on some things, in some topics, but on most topics, I am pretty willing to hear other perspectives. 370, are you teachable? I think so from everybody except my dad. For some reason, I cannot listen to anything. It's just how he delivers it. I just can't. 371, how would your family answer to these questions? Oh yeah, so my dad would probably say I'm more hard-headed because I can't listen to him, but I don't think anybody else would say that I'm just unteachable. Can you give me an example of the last time you recognized an area that you needed to change in your life? Yeah, so my fitness, I've started going to the gym past September. I just really realized that I need to be more physically active and I need to do something about my fatigue with my thyroid disease, and it has changed my life for the better. 373, how long did it take for you to change? Honestly, to fully change of going to the gym every day, which I know isn't really like a character thing, but honestly, years. And I changed in September, so that was now 5 months ago. 375, how long had it been since the time before that? I can't honestly remember like a huge life change I made. 376, how often do you take someone else's advice? I'd say probably almost every day, with work, with family, with friends. 377, how often do you go to the altar? Never. 378, is your heart tender towards God, His ways, and new truth? I guess not at all. 379, how often do you feel conviction in your life? I don't see this as religious conviction, but I'd say I feel convicted fairly often about different things. 380, how long does it take you to deal with a problem once you recognize it? It really depends on the topic and how sensitive I am about it, I guess. 381, does another person that you have had a problem with have to apologize first, or do you go to them? I'm pretty good at apologizing first, and even when I feel wronged, taking accountability in certain areas. 382, do you try to communicate and work things out with that person? Pretty much, anybody that I'm really close with, I try to work things out with. because I don't really, get rid of relationships easily at all. 383, how often do you follow through on what you've said you're going to do on a scale of 1 to 10? So that's been a question that was asked before. Okay, so let's go into the next section, which is health. Do you suffer from any chronic disease or condition? I guess thyroid disease, hyperthyroidism, would be 385. Are you willing to take a physical exam by a physician before marriage? So such an interesting question. I guess if somebody was really asking for that, sure. 386. What is your understanding of proper health and nutrition? I feel like that's such a difficult, deep question that I'm not gonna go into all of that. 387. How do you support your own health and nutrition? I try to track what I'm eating almost every day. I've been on a pretty big kick of that this year. I kind of got off of it last year. I go to the gym with weightlifting 4 times a week. I don't do much cardio. I really need to get back into that. But honestly, it makes you be at the gym for a long time, and I don't know. I need to get better at it though. All right, now we're on to the holiday section. The health section was pretty short, but I mean, if this was written by Jim Bob, he's not exactly a health nut. So holidays, 388. Do you celebrate holidays? Yeah, I celebrate most of the major holidays, except for I don't celebrate Easter. So, he actually goes on to ask which holidays. So Christmas, do I do presents, trees, lights, Santa? I don't necessarily, if it's like a deal breaker, I get it, but I don't necessarily want to do Santa for my kids if I have kids. Presents, gonna keep it minimal. For Christmas, Easter, I don't want to do Easter at all for my kids. Maybe an egg hunt, but that's about it. I do celebrate 4th of July on the lake most years. New Year's, I usually don't. Honestly, I don't usually celebrate New Year's in a typical way. Sometimes if I get invited to something, but most of the years I don't. Halloween, yeah, I actually enjoy Halloween, especially if I have a girlfriend to dress up with. I love that. Valentine's Day, so me and my girlfriend actually just celebrated Valentine's Day a day late 2 days ago, and we were together on Valentine's Day with my family. 391 holiday decorations. Honestly, just because I don't see it as like a super necessity. I don't particularly like holiday decorations and don't do them. My mom loves to do holiday decorations for like literally every holiday. She'll have her kitchen kind of decorated a little bit. If my wife wants to do holiday decorations, I'm totally open. 392, how do you celebrate holidays? Girl, there are so many holidays. Like, what do you mean? 393, were holidays a big deal to you growing up? They're a pretty big deal to my family. We just like to have things to look forward to, vacations, holidays, that kind of thing. 394, what was a typical holiday when you were growing up? I feel like that's such, like, a typical holiday. Like, every holiday is so different. I'm not going to go into that. What about birthdays? Yeah, we celebrated our birthdays. We usually had a little party with our friends and got a couple presents. Christmas was bigger on presents than birthdays for sure. 395, do you think you should give birthday presents? I'm assuming he's asking to children. I would give the kids like a few birthday presents for sure. Don't want to go overboard on that. 396 decorations. I think decorations is fine. I really don't care. 397 cake. You have to have cake. You like have to have cake. I love cake. 398, are birthdays a big deal, or can you take them and leave them? Personally, for my birthday, I've gotten to where I went through a phase where I didn't really care about them, but then me and my buddies started going to the lake every year on my birthday, and it literally is like the best day of the year, like having all of my friends together, amazing weather, good food. I mean, now for me, birthdays, now that I started doing that, birthdays are a big deal. 399, how about in regards to future children? I think I would make a big deal and try to do special things with them and their friends, and not necessarily on the materialistics, but more on the experience of it all. 400, are birthday parties okay? Absolutely. And then it just says, I guess this section is called TV. So we're going on to a section called TV. Okay, so we're finally into the 400s. We are almost done, guys, I promise. 401, what is your view on having cable TV in your home? I think that's a waste of money. YouTube or streaming, which I know is not the question he was really asking. 402, what are your views about watching movies in general? I watch a ton of movies. I go through phases of it, though. 403, what's your view about renting movies? I think that if you have streaming services, unless there's something you really want to see, I feel like I'm probably not going to rent a movie. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a waste. 404, do you go to the movies? Yes, because I think it's an experience more so. And it's like a little date night kind of thing. 406, how do you respond when you see a girl that isn't dressed right? Why is that question under TV? Is he asking like when I see one on TV? I kind of just don't really think much of it. 407, would you describe for me what you think is wrong or what bothers you about a lewdly dressed woman? I don't really care that much what other people do, to be really honest with you. 408, would you have a curse-free unit? I'm assuming that means like my home. I don't know. That's a good question actually, because I think maybe like once they get older just a little bit, I feel like if they are mature enough to understand that, you can curse every once in a while at home but not do it outside the house. I don't know though. I'm really not sure. I'd really have to think about that. 409, does cursing in a movie bother you? No. 410, would you set a time limit for TV watching? For my kids, absolutely. For like screens, I don't want to give my kids screens, but obviously I know that I'm not a parent, so I don't really know. 411, what type of cartoons are okay for future children? I guess like age appropriate ones. I don't know. I really don't know what like cartoons are being aired now or what's on streaming services. 412, are you open to us making these decisions together? Me and my wife, of course. Let's move on to the next section, which is games. 413, do you play games? I play The Sims, obviously. I don't play many video games. I really like Uno. I really like those kind of games. 414, do you have problems with the following? Board games? Nope. Dice? No. Playing cards? Not gambling? No. Video games or watching sports? Is that a section? I guess that's a section. So on to the next section, I guess. 418, do you own or play video games? So right now the only video game I own is The Sims, but I go on and off with phases when my buddy's playing Minecraft. 419, do you do it in moderation? Absolutely. I really don't play much at all. 421, what happens when someone talks to you or comes in the room while you're watching a movie or playing a video game? Typically just pause it. I feel like that's the normal answer, right? Then it asks like kind of things I like, favorite color, red or orange, favorite foods. So I like, for desserts, I like cakes, ice cream, whatever. I really like the Ninja Creamy stuff. B, snacks. I like so many snacks, I can't go into that right now. C, fast food, Chick-fil-A is my number one. D, home cooked meals, steak, any kind of grilled chicken, any kind of stir fry, that kind of meal. Alright, if anyone actually made it through that whole video, you're an absolute soldier. But here is Jim Bob's alleged, or maybe just the template courtship questionnaire. 422 questions. I went through it all. Let me know what you think. Why do you think that Jim Bob was asking certain questions? Do you have any theories on that? And do you think that this is his actual questionnaire, or do you think it's more of a template? Let me know in the comments below.
It's really fake and gay. And I am actually an expert on all matters that are fake and gay.